Hi, my name is Nancy Love, and I am speaking to you on behalf of the Planet Peace Project, a fledgling organization that I've been trying to start for years and hopefully will get going. The only part of the Planet Peace Project that is currently active is these YouTube videos that I'm making that are informed by my background in psychology, behavioral medicine, philosophy, and it is an attempt to join a lot of information from a number of different disciplines to help people. And my videos are not monetized, at least not yet, and I'm doing this for free to help folks. That's just me. What I'd like to speak to you about today is there is no honor among thieves. In my childhood, I heard that originally expressed that way. There is no honor among thieves. And as a child, I asked what that meant. And I was told that people who are of criminal intent and who have no honor and who are not trustworthy cannot very well expect their cohorts who are, join them in crimes to be trustworthy and honorable either. It's kind of a lost cause. They're expecting other criminals to not be criminal toward you if you're one of them and engage in conspiracies with them. Conspiracy is a loaded, psychologically loaded term now, and all it means, and this is according to the district attorney's office in Los Angeles, California, who explained it to me because I didn't understand the term legally when they talked about criminal conspiracies and so forth. When I was talking to them about criminals that I knew in Los Angeles, they said all it means is two people talking about a crime. Two people talking about a crime, planning it, even if they never commit it, are in a criminal conspiracy. So when I say conspiracy, I just mean two or more people talking about or performing a crime. I'm not talking about conspiracy theories and all that. So I have also seen that term sometimes without the "no" in it. Sometimes on the internet you see a meme or someone who tries to tell you that criminals are good people when they're not. Will say, "Oh yes, there is honor among thieves. Thieves have to protect one another and so forth, so they don't try to harm each other." That's not true. There is no honor among thieves, and regardless of what they're trying to steal, whether it's somebody's identity or physical possessions or pets or children, kidnappers, or somebody's life, or if they're the type of thief that steals civilization by committing sexual assault. Because I've said it for years and I'll say it again, a rapist is a thief who steals from us all. They steal choice from their victims, but they steal civilization from society. So, regardless of what criminals are trying to steal, they cannot expect honor among them. What's inspired me today is that I happened to overhear a conversation among some people who were in a criminal conspiracy together. And one of them is really upset because he apparently got arrested, and he said that they were setting him up, that the people who engaged him in this criminal activity had filmed him while performing it, and they were telling the police because they were all getting into some kind of trouble. Uh, they were telling the police that he instigated it and he was the only one doing it, and there they had proof that he was doing it. Well, they were the ones who drew him into the whole thing to begin with. So he was very upset, and he was practically crying, which is kind of hard to see. He's a large person. He looks like, everybody's archetypical idea of a Navy SEAL, and you don't expect to see a grown man cry, especially one that looks like a mountain and somebody you would definitely want on your side in any fight. But there he was, extremely upset and so shocked that although he willingly, knowingly performed criminal activities, that the people who got him into that, criminal activity were trying to be dishonorable and were trying to get themselves off scot-free and trying to blame him, one of their sort of, employees or cohorts or whatever, one of their lieutenants, one of their underlings. They were so surprised that he was being now, quote, set up, as he called it, because the people who had started the whole thing didn't want to take responsibility, didn't want to be held accountable, didn't want to have all the ramifications of being a criminal come into their lives. Now, those ramifications can be legal and often are, but they can also be social. Your friends don't want to associate with you when you perform those sorts of activities. Your family may abnegate any responsibility or a relationship with you. You could lose your family if you get involved with that sort of thing. You might lose your employment. Um, your employer doesn't want a thief of any sort at work for him. So there are all kinds of qualms and problems. If a person is a spiritual person who believes in some kind of God, then there are spiritual ramifications of becoming someone that corrupt. And that's what I'm trying to say to you all. The people who willfully, knowingly engage in those sorts of activities, a thief of any sort, of any kind, is someone who's getting himself in trouble. And to claim that the people who roped him into the crime, whether it's drug dealing or whatever, human trafficking, weapons running, slave running, anything, they're not the ones who got him into trouble. And he shouldn't be all that surprised if they, quote, set him up, unquote, and try to blame him instead of themselves. Criminals are notoriously bad about taking responsibility for their own behavior. They don't want to be held accountable even to themselves. Everybody wants to have self-respect. Everybody wants to be able to look in a mirror and like what they see. But after a certain point, criminals can't do that anymore. Criminals look at themselves and they find themselves repugnant. And so all this self-defense mechanisms, what Freud called the ego defense mechanisms, come into play. You rationalize, you come up with all kinds of reasons why you're not really responsible for your own behavior. Well, in point of fact, you are. And the other thing would be always blaming the victim or witnesses. People who commit crimes against organic life forms, whether that be non human animals or human animals, want very much for those victims to be good victims, perfect little victims who don't complain, who don't go to the police, who don't advertise or, tell anyone. Criminality thrives in the dark. Witnesses and victims who survive what's been done to them, who talk and talk loudly about what's been done to them and lay blame are, terrifying to a criminal who only got away with what he or she has been doing because they could do it in secret. The truth is the enemy of all criminality. And when the truth is out, and it always will, as Shakespeare said, the truth will out. The truth will always out. And that's when people scurry around, blame each other, try to abnegate responsibility for what they've done, make excuses when in point of fact they are responsible for their crimes. Criminals, and here's one of the basic criteria for telling whether you're dealing with a basically decent person who made an awful mistake and someone who is a sociopath, someone who has what the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual for the Social Sciences, which is universally used worldwide, is called antisocial personality disorder, APD. A person who makes an honest mistake owns it and says they're sorry and tries to make amends. They take responsibility and they hold themselves accountable. Society doesn't have to. They realize they made a mistake and they don't do it again. They learn from it. But a sociopath, someone with APD, antisocial personality disorder, will always blame the victims. If he hits you, you made him angry, so he had to do it. Well, what did the person who got hit have to do? A lot of people will be victimized by criminals and not become criminals in their own right. Just because someone hits you, you don't have to hit back. And most of us know that. Most of us have what's called self restraint. Impulse control is a clarion call of sanity and mental health. Everybody probably daily or weekly or monthly has impulses to do things that aren't considered right, aren't considered healthy. But the vast majority of us control our impulses. We have self respect, we have self control, and therefore society gets to be civilized relatively. Impulse control is the basis for civilization. And when criminals do not have impulse control, when they fail to control whatever impulses they have to do things that aren't right, decent, right action, right thought, they want very much to blame everybody else but themselves. So when criminals find out that their perfect little victims aren't that perfect at being victimized, when a criminal finds out that they have victimized someone who now has become the perfect storm in their life because they talk loud and they will hold that person accountable, they get terrified and angry and try to run or try to increase the abuse or whatever. This is a profoundly important subject. And throughout my entire life as a philosopher, as a person who was spiritually based, as someone who has a vast store of information in terms of psychology and behavioral medicine and anthropology, all my life I've been trying to figure out how we can all get along. And that's part of why I'm trying to start the Planet Peace Project. Planet Peace deals with micro peace and macro peace. The macro peace aspect would be having negotiators who would be willing to go anywhere in the world where we were asked to help achieve conflict between the tribes who would remain at war, whether that's a civil war between people within a country or issues that exist between countries across national boundaries. The Macro Peace Program would send mediators in there to try to make peace without bombs and bullets, using only the exquisite tools of reason and compassion and understanding and insight. We want to use words and not bombs to solve problems. What a concept. It's about time humankind grew up and figured out how to do that, you think? Well, the Macro Peace Program is somewhat different, and it's a recognition of the fact that countries don't make peace, individuals make peace. Individual leaders of countries make peace across national boundaries. Um, and each of us is responsible for making peace within ourselves and within our own lives. A world in which somehow miraculously nations stop bombing each other into little bits would be a good thing. But if we still have domestic violence, if couples still beat each other up inside the privacy of their own houses, if parents still abuse their children, if people still steal from each other, if there are still gang wars in our streets, if there are still riots and vandalism and animal abuse, if there's still animal abuse, we do not have a world at peace, even if nations have found a way to not make war. So micropeace deals with the idea that every single one of us is entirely responsible for making peace within our own lives. And if we have to deal with people who aren't there yet, who aren't that evolved, then that's not our fault. But I'm calling people out. And I'm so tired of hearing criminals blame their victims and witnesses to their crimes. The criminals have failed at micropeace. And as long as there are individual criminals willing to commit crimes against the rest of us and helpless animals and all the innocents of the world, then even if nations stop bombing each other to bits, we will have a world at war. We will not have a world at peace. This is Nancy Love. Remember, there is no honor among thieves. More later. I'm just getting started here.